Hey, everybody. It's Healing Tuesday. Super excited about tonight. I have a special guest. Okay, I see her there. I see her there. She jumped in finally. You guys, we are using a new stream tonight. Wanted to try something new. Let me know who's on here, all of that good stuff as we normally do. Tonight, we are continuing a series that we've been doing for a little while, fatherlessness and sexual abuse, sexual trauma. And on one of my lives when I was doing Facebook and Instagram, can't do this or Instagram with the new integration, but I kept calling her Smash-Jett, and y'all are probably like, who in the world? Well, it's Shawn Smash-Jett who's going to join us tonight. This is a young lady. I have been on her radio show a couple of times. We've talked. I've seen the work that she's done in Atlanta. She just went all in at some point where not only was she a radio personality, not just someone advocating for sex trafficking, but she also now is someone who is well known in the city of Atlanta for going in and rescuing individuals who are caught up in human sex trafficking. And I thought it would be a great addition to this conversation because the statistics show that a lot of these individuals, I believe the number that I saw years ago was 83% of them are fatherless. I'm going to let Shawn give us some stats on this, and we're going to talk about how they get in, who are they grooming, what are they looking for, and all of those things. So let me go ahead and bring her on in. Shawn, look, I see her moving around.
Like, how can I share? How can I share? Oh my, I'm too close. Hold on, just a second.
Look, she said, oh my.
I'm still in COVID.
We'll move it out a little bit.
That's too close for the people.
Look, the other night I was in my grave like, ooh, child.
They don't need to see these press ons I just put on in 5 minutes.
This thing is real. I've introduced you. I have people on. I know more people will come on as we get going with this.
Okay.
FYI, everybody, y'all know the rule. Come on, chat with me. I can't necessarily always see it who's on until they let me know who's on.
I'm going to try to share my screen real quick. You're on your Facebook?
I'm on the Fatherless Generation Foundation's Facebook.
Okay.
And we're on YouTube. Yeah.
I'll share it. I think I get your notifications. That's how I always know you're on. I'm like, she on causing trouble again.
See, can we have this conversation before we go into? Because I had an issue this week. See, Shawn, I know she saw it. That's why she's saying what she's saying.
Yes,
it's okay. I'm not trying to cause trouble. I'm trying to get you healed. And healing, as my friend Suave said today, you guys, this was a really good conversation that I had with a psychotherapist that I know.
Hold on. Let me just share with my people first.
The thing that Suave said to me today.
How do I share that? Yes. Lord. Okay, there we go.
The Suave said you have to, in order to heal a group, you have to exploit it.
Okay. Okay, there we go. You can't have old people doing nothing.
No technology. Yeah, we tried. We're gonna work, we're gonna get it together.
Okay.
You got it on mute. You got it silent.
Yeah. I'm over it. I'm over it.
When I cause trouble, I'm clear why I'm causing trouble. And as my psychotherapist friend said, he said, you can't address a culture. You can't heal a culture without exposing or exploiting it. And that's exactly what you do as well with sex trafficking. I know there are conversations you have to have that are raw, that are really hard, that are not something that you want to even say about your culture. But you have to cause trouble and to get us healed. And so, yes.
Listen, I have a good friend that Mr. Congressman John Lewis always told me, ma'am, get in good trouble.
Right.
And so I get in some good trouble. So when I'm out here and I am advocating and literally walking up and down these streets for the youth or whatever, I'm getting in some good trouble.
And that's what it is. I can't help that some women aren't comfortable when I posted what I posted this week. It was on TFGF's page, so they know what I'm talking about. And it was some good conversation. The goal is to have a conversation. And this is why we're on here tonight. This is why we're on here every Tuesday night. We are talking about hard stuff. It's not easy to talk about sexual assault and sexual trauma, right? This is the thing certain communities will hide from. And now tonight we're interjecting you into an equation where, okay, Shawn, how do these individuals get into this, right? Because that's where I'm going to go. I want you to tell us the statistics because I wanted to say them. I even see Nydia on here. She said, child, don't worry about it. She said she showed her age the other day trying to do a Zoom meeting with her girlfriends. So I'm trying something new, so it's okay. We're all family on here. And as my husband said before we even get going on the statistics, my husband put on there, please share for us. Because I know that
hopefully I shared because
this topic is going to get deep. You can share it even afterwards. And if you're watching in replay, please type replay in there so I can see who's watching. So let's go.
Okay.
Shawn, you got to tell us the stats on this human trafficking thing. Not just how they get in, but how many are in? What age groups are they in? Most people think it's female. I know that there's some boys in it too. So help us with this. Give us some understanding.
Okay, well, let's just explain. Let me go back to this part so that they know that I'm not just coming out of my butt with what I am talking about. And I've got to turn off notifications because everybody is apparently now coming in or something because all of a sudden I'm hearing noises over here. So, and clearly I don't know how to cut the thing off. Lord, I'm starting to feel real old. Okay. Anyway, thank you for having me. Thank you for the conversation. A lot of people don't want to have this conversation. A lot of times, even Facebook, and yes, I'm calling you out, Facebook. A lot of times when I share information, they make sure my information goes to the bottom. Now, I can talk about everything in the world, but as soon as I start talking about human trafficking, those analytics go down. So even the social media don't want the information out. They want what they're doing. They want for girls and boys and transgender, let's be clear, they want for them not to have the information so that it can continue. And I will say first and foremost, I started in this, as you said, I was a radio personality, and I just decided I was going full throttle because you can't unsee what you hear. And I was working on my PhD a few years ago at Kennesaw State. And this little girl came in bouncing in my class, and she was like, oh, sex trafficking is happening in Atlanta, and it is one of the top things that we're known for. And I was like, you's a lie. I've been here 26 years in Atlanta, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm a Georgia peach. Yolanda Lattimore would defer. She would say no. But I feel as though I've paid my taxes this long. I'm now a Georgia peach. But I went to I went to research what this young lady was saying. And she was saying that we were the hub. And I said, not my Atlanta. First of all, I have a child. I have at that point, my daughter probably was about 23 or 24. And I had not heard that we were the hub of sex trafficking. And so I went to research to basically call her a lie. And the more I discovered, the more I learned, I discovered that one of my partners that I'm an ambassador for, the Institute of Human Trafficking Institute, Miss Deborah Richardson, had been fighting this fight along with Mayor Shirley Franklin so many years ago. And I was like, what? It goes back that far? But ideally, my job was to just turn that out. I was like, it's not happening. But the more I dug in, again, I couldn't unsee what I saw. And so I started looking into it more and more and more. And I started learning that we had places like, for instance, down there on Pine Street, that whole area was a conglomerate of a whole lot of things happening. And I get now why it was taken away, because it was a place that girls were coming where I would take toiletries and mentor girls in this small little space where they were given to come take a shower and be put back on the street. And I was like, wait a minute, how can this be happening? How can this be the thing that I mean, obviously they know it's here because they're telling us bring food here. They're telling us to come mentor these young girls. And it just blew my mind that girls who were 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. And unfortunately, that is the average. The average is between 12 and 14 years old. And I thought to myself, this can't be happening. Kids are supposed to be in high school. They're supposed to be enjoying their youth. They're not supposed to be doing. Now, here's where it gets good and where you're going to be mad at me, because this is a statistic that you are not going to want to hear. And I'm going to ask you, Dr. Tori, I was married to my husband. I married my high school sweetheart, and I married Mr. Jett, and I didn't want to have sex with him dang near every day. But these girls are being made to sleep with men 20 to 30 times a day. Yes, I said a day. Most of us don't want to be with our husbands one time a day.
Oh man, that's bad. I'm different.
I agree. At some point in my life, you're a little younger than me. But at some point in my life, I was, yeah, you know.
Certain age and it changes.
You 4 or 5 times a day. Wonderful. But I'm talking about the regular wife who got 3 children, 15 jobs, and got everything. She tired.
But let me say this. I know the girls are sleeping with it's a man, right? So that doesn't bother me that that's the number. I'm going to ask you later about who's putting them in there. We're going to have that conversation later.
Okay.
Well, I recognize that that's who they're sleeping with. So that doesn't bother me, because that's a check that men need to experience who are on this page. They need to get the check just as much as we as women need that check that you sleeping with little girls.
How about that?
Like, is because your wife won't have sex with you?
Yes.
And you're paying these little girls, right? So this is the thing. This is, you know, even when you said this goes back to Shirley Franklin. Hold on, I got to make sure I got my cord in here. I looked at the thing. It goes back to Shirley Franklin. I remember her really fighting the strip clubs, but we didn't see it as human sex trafficking. She was very adamant about shutting down these strip clubs and monitoring them. And so I wrote it down when you said it. I remember that being a part of her platform. So,
and you know why?
And pray against them. I ain't even gonna lie to you. The Gentlemen's Club, I would drive by on a regular because I heard some things, right?
Well,
see,
there's a lot that goes on in the strip club. And again, it goes on to ignorance on fire, because here is someone who really grew up when you say grow up, because we got here when we were about 23 years old. Okay. So we were young and still foolish and going down to East Lake Park and drinking every day, and before it was all bougie like it is now. And I would literally, rest his soul, Mr. Jett, I would drop my husband off at Jazzy T's. That was my favorite spot.
Oh!
And I dropped him off with that method. There was a method to my madness, see? So if I dropped him off, he wouldn't be bothering me. I could go get my dinner done, get my child homework done. And by the time I finished doing all of the motherly thing, then he'd come home. He's ready. I don't have to pacify him because he's already worked up. Go on about your business and
right. He's worked up, so he should be coming home wanting some. But see, this is the challenge.
And then it wouldn't be forever.
Oh Jesus! See, I can't wait. Can't with her tonight, y'all. But that's a real journey of this woman as a wife. But let me ask you this: like, so what you're telling us, because we're going to start really like at the root of this thing. We got some time. The girls in the strip club aren't as old as they think they are.
Correct. There's a lot of people. Okay, so let's go back to and I love my Mayor Keisha, and they have seen me and they've heard me, and they know that some of the things that are happening down in the city, I'm not happy with. And we have some folks that we advocate for, because I almost feel like sometimes the city is helping what the situation is.
I can believe
because you have an escort fee for $1,000. You can go downtown and pay $1,000 escort fee that's legal. It's a legal fee.
To become an escort.
Correct.
Like you're getting a permit.
Yes.
Really?
Same thing to be a dancer. It is a dancer's fee. So the city is making money off of that.
So that young women can be sexually abused.
Well, they said it's a profession, that escorting is the people who choose to do that is However, we never counted on young people. You can't be 12 and 14 to get that. And
That's
you
what I
have
was
to
going to the next question. What's the age that, like,
18.
I was going to say, is it 18 or 21? So you have to be 18 to get an escort permit
Or
license.
21.
Or
It's either 18 or 21. Don't forgive me if I don't remember which one it is.
that's
But
fine. Is
you
this
grown.
happening in
You're not
other
12 to
states?
15. That's the
Is
key.
this happening in other states? I know we're focusing on Georgia because that's where you are and that's where you do most of your work.
Yes.
But when you're advocating, you know some of the other states that are around you.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I've done rescues. I've done over 300 personal rescues. And of those, they've been
How
in
many have
Florida.
you done? Slow down.
Over 300.
You've done over 300 personal rescues. We want to get into what that looks like,
Okay.
but I won't do that right now.
Okay, and I got Sally back here. I got me a new Sally today. She's a 365, just for your pimps, just to know.
Oh, that's your girl. License to carry. Okay.
And a good shots.
All right. We dealing with, see, she got power on both sides, y'all. Okay. So escort fee, what is it like in other states? Anissa
Okay,
said,
so
why
that's what I was getting ready to tell you. I've done rescues in Houston when we did Super Bowl. I've done it in Minnesota. I've done it in Florida, Tennessee, and Michigan. I'm sorry?
You come to Fort Lauderdale a lot, so I'm thinking.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Because I was on the air there every 2 weeks on a show called The Final Say with These Boys. So of course I can't just be still when I get there. You know, people, and plus I'm on Fort Lauderdale sex trafficking teen force there. So they do great work. Great
My
work.
husband was a part of a sting. They came to him and asked him to have a room for a couple of days. And he said they gave it to him. He gave it to him. And before you know it, he said there were a lot of individuals who were rescued out of that process.
Yes. South Florida is a serious situation. They take a lot of girls even from here. Like they bring them here from other states. They groom them and tell them what all they're supposed to do. And then they take them to South Florida for the prime activity. And then they bring them back. So it's a constant coming back and forth from Florida to Georgia.
Wow, I want to show this right here. Charles said 30 times a day is crazy. I need a good 45 minutes, so I don't know how they can do it that much a day.
It's true. It's true.
Anissa said this is about supply and demand, point blank. And then I know
we can get into that.
Yeah, and Charles works a lot with legislation, so he said the city is going to make money on everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
When I tell you my mind was blue when I sat there and looked, I was like, wait a minute, we have an escort fee? What the?
Okay, so wait a minute. I know we're jumping around because there's all these questions coming, but my husband just asked, please tell me why APD arrests the escorts if they have a permit. That's confusing.
I agree, husband. But not everybody has a permit necessarily. Okay. And also, there's rules to what an escort can and cannot do. So
we can talk, but we can't touch.
So at some point, you're saying, nobody asking you not a doggone thing, Sari. Just messed me up. At some point, there's rules of what should happen on this particular permit that you've applied for. Okay. And sometimes those rules get broken. Let's just be real. All the times those rules get broken.
Yes, escort it's a fancy name for what we know as prostitution or human trafficking, right? We can clean it up. We can make it whatever we want to make it, but we know what it really is. So we talked about this escort piece. Okay, we know the age is between 12 and 15 years old. We know the strip clubs are an issue. Wait, let me tell you the story. I went to Bible school in London, England. And I remember when they first found out, the group just, we're announcing who we are. And this is Bible school. Let me specify this. And they found out from Atlanta. And you know what the men in class said? Hot Atlanta strip clubs in London, England, in Bible class, school. That's what Atlanta's known for. It's known for this. We know that women in strip clubs tend to get a little extra money sometimes. So how does Atlanta deal with that? How do you deal with Yeah.
I almost feel like we've prided ourselves in passing Miami, because Miami was the hub of the strip club.
Yes.
And it was almost like we have certain entertainers here that said, yeah, no, they can't be over us. We have to. And you will be surprised, there are a lot of strip clubs, and there's over 300 strip clubs and lounges in this city.
Where are they? In the back of somebody's yard?
Baby, when I tell you the list of the ones I get, and I'm like, this is a strip club, but it's on the low. Because you get there, even Lil Jay's Lounge out in Decatur, I didn't know until I went one night after midnight that a pole comes up.
What? Okay.
There's a lot of little lounges. Like, when we first came on, it was just a chit chat club or Dugan's or whatever. But even places like that have become an after spot where a pole comes up. And if you just watch social media at certain times, I've been so kind of glad that COVID has happened, because it's been quiet. But even Magic City was slick, at some point. They were like, okay, we can't be missing this money. They were on IG doing $20 virtual dances.
No. Wow. Okay. There's so many, like, we got some comments rolling in. Even
Yes.
Charles said it seems like a trap. If you get a permit, like, it seems all like it's a trap. And
Well, let's go into that.
yeah, let's go into how do you get
let's start
trapped
into prefacing that.
Yeah.
And I'm probably about to mess you up, Dr. Tori, because I have never really shared this on the air, but I did share it in a format that is kind of out there now in the newspaper arena, because apparently the MJC or somebody published it. But I had someone who kind of called me on the carpet, just like, why are you doing this? Why are you so adamant about it? And I kind of had to deal with my own, this is what happened to me, and realize, okay, this is why you're passionate about it. And what occurred was, I'm from Detroit, and I was 17 or 18. What's up? What up, though? I was 7 or 18.
Charles is from Michigan too. You didn't know? I didn't know you were from Michigan. Okay, I want to interrupt your story. We'll connect on that later.
I mean, clearly, but anyway, when I was 17, 18 years old, my parents were like, hey, you only have two ways of leaving here. You're either going to get married or you're going to go to college. We don't have no college money for you. So you've got very limited choices. Well, by this time, I'm dating Mr. Jett. I've started dating him when I was 13. So we were high school sweethearts. And I said, I can't leave here without having some sort of money, because he went and joined the military. Well, while he was sneaking out, he was off at the military, I was sneaking off trying to figure out how I was going to put stuff in my hope chest. Because back then you really kind of had to have a hope chest.
I remember.
But we were so poor, we didn't have a hope chest. Okay. So I said, so someone introduced me to the strip club.
And Detroit had a really big strip club, male and female.
Mm-hmm. So I sneaked out of the city, because there's a certain point of, you cross 8 Mile on one end, you okay, and if you cross 8 Mile on the other end, you're not okay. Yeah. So the world is finding out that Shawn Smash-Jett was Flame.
Wow! So you were a stripper in?
I worked for Cantaloupes in Detroit, and I was Flame. And I realized, after talking to these girls and seeing that even back then, trafficking was happening, because we were told to do different things in the strip club, because it's really a little side mafia when you put it all together, because you're paying the bar, you're paying the hostess, you're paying the DJ, you're paying the manager for your being there. So you're really not making as much money as you really should be. But in order for you to get out of that drum, where I'm giving practically everything that I've made to all of these people by the end of the night, in order for you to make some formation of money, you need to be doing some other stuff on the side.
Right.
And so I had a friend named Tiger, and she introduced me to some other people and some other things and some better side money, to say the least. And at this point, we were really doing quick money things to no, and no, nobody was I wasn't, but anyway, we were doing some things to make additional funding.
Wait, you were like, I wasn't something. I don't. Okay.
Yeah, because I've got to, I need to know that there's probably my child. If I share this, she's probably seen this. Yeah, come up. So
Okay.
leave it to their imagination. But the point is, trafficking was happening to me, and then I had to realize, wait a minute, I'm a survivor of this, because even though I'm 18, 19 years old, 17 years old, 17, 18, 19 years old, I don't realize, I'm realizing this is just money to get me where I'm trying to get to go. But you don't realize that there's a system in place that they know once they get you into the strip club, now more things can happen. And that's exactly how some of these folks are getting involved. Is, oh, you're being told, oh, you just have to do this and you just have to do that, and nothing's going to harm you from there. No one's telling you, oh, by the way, if you start doing this, then Mr. Charles, like I had a gentleman who plays psychology games with me. He gives me $100 every week at the bar. If I brought a quarter that he had marked specifically, and only he knew what that mark was, because I tried to trick him one time and bring a different quarter because I had forgotten, left it at home on the dresser, and he'd give me $100 bill. Well, I realized that was a part of his game, because if I wanted that $100 bill more than anything, I'm 17 years old. Hello.
Right. I'm here to make money.
But I'm here to make money. So then that led to other things. He's like, oh, well, you made this $100 for the last 10 weeks. I've given you $1,000. Now I've got a friend who, so yeah. So
okay.
That's why Shirley Franklin is really was hammering the sex clubs, because we know what all goes on there. And certain clubs in this city, it's still happening, where you're at the top level and you think it's just stripping going on. But if you go downstairs to the VIP, there's a whole lot of other things that are transpiring, between drugs and more other heavy duty people who are under the cover, who you have to close your eyes to and say, oh, you didn't see Judge so-and-so down here, or you didn't see this legislator down here, and then you realize next that girl is going on to the next stage, because now she's going to be introduced to a pimp at some point. So that's exactly what happened.
So you're in a position, where you get into stripping to pay for college. That was the mission, right?
Correct.
And I got to ask, because of the topic we're on.
Absolutely.
Were you ever sexually abused growing up?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's where the majority of the girls come from.
Pause, y'all. I need you.
When I was 3.
Okay.
And I'm really messing up because my family is probably watching this. When I was 3, my stepfather raped and abused me. And I pretty much was left for dead and not supposed to be here. And several other things went on happening after that. Once I even got grown up, you have that uncle that puts you on the lap. You have that, let me just touch you here. But people don't realize the trauma behind that. But a lot of the girls who we come across have had, the majority of them, if not all of them, have had some sort of family abuse, sexual abuse somewhere, father abuse. You will be surprised. I mean, I love the conversation about the fatherless generation, but there's a whole lot of girls who fathers have put them on the street and said, listen, this is what I need you to do for our family, because you happen to be the girl. So I need you to go on Instagram and put your chest out and go on TikTok and get this money.
So let me be clear. I've had some stories like that where people have called me. My husband, the worst story he's ever heard, because he hears all the people that have called me. And I think I shared this last week. There was an individual who she called me because her boyfriend had discovered that she was having sex with her father. And no, he had called. I'm sorry. He wasn't sure if the babies were his because he went to pick up his girlfriend, his fiance, from her parents' house and saw that she was like knocking on the door. No one's answering. And he goes to look in the window, knocking on the door. And his fiance is having sex with her father. And he had been having sex with her, I think, since she was 14 or 15. And she was in her 20s now. And he couldn't understand it. And I was like, she's been groomed. Like, don't take it out on her. She's been groomed like this. But he was looking for, to take a DNA test and that kind of thing. And we led him in that direction. But yeah, we've heard stories. We work with good daddies. So you ain't got to preface that with me at all.
Yeah. But you will be surprised how many fathers that we hear from girls who say, there's no sense of me, preserving my virginity or any of that because my father has been with me for years. And so if he's telling me that I can't even be with my boyfriend, but you've been with me since I was 9 years old, what's the difference?
Right.
So only daddy wanted me for him, but he don't want me out here now acting stone cold fool with these other people. Okay.
And that's the dad that gives what I do a bad name. So I'm not surprised, right? That dad's not going to call me. And if he does call me, like a handful have gotten caught, not with sexual abuse, but if you're abusive in any way, through the phases you go through, like you get stuck on a phase and then I'm starting to investigate. One guy we got rid of 2 years ago. He's still driving me nuts on social media. Girl telling me fake and fraud. We found out he was abusive. His ex-wife has been running for 14 years. Okay.
Wow.
For last week. She still has a bag sitting by the door just in case he finds them. But that's what I discovered. So there are things in place with my organization. You ain't gonna make it through that. I pray and I have systems in place. So
yes,
exposed quickly. So just know that that's not a surprise to me. I just don't work with those dads. So
absolutely.
As we move through now we know your why.
You got to know your why. And I didn't for a very long time. I just was out here. Let's go. You
just had a heart for it and didn't really connect to the pain.
Didn't have a heart for it. It didn't. And then I was at a conference at the airport that Mayor Keisha had me on a panel. And I was sitting there like, oh my God. And I was like, this is why I'm doing it. Because at some point when certain things happen to you, you block them out and they've gone on to glory. And then you realize, wait a minute, hello, Flame. When are you going to tell the people that part? But yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to answer anything. I heard you say my family might be watching. You don't have to answer anything. Just give me the story.
That should be fine now.
All right. So
I'm not Flame no more.
Right. You Shawn, Smash-Jett, radio personality, motivational speaker, and an entrepreneur. Okay. And a philanthropist and a whole bunch of other things. Tell me this. Now we're into the sexual abuse part, how these girls have gotten there. That was a segue into this in the first place. It wasn't just the money. It's the two combined, the previous sexual abuse and now the need for money, whether it's I need to go to college, whether it's I need to just live and survive. I have babies, whatever this is. Because I remember a lot of women in Detroit, they had children who were strippers. I do remember that conversation when you go to Legends back in the day when I went to University of Michigan. That was the spot. But they had a lot of after-hour spots that I didn't even play those games.
And it comes from your culture because you realize that you think you're going to be one thing and your culture is already saying, like my husband's family set up immediately and they were like, listen, this is what our family does. We don't know what the Smashes do, but the Jetts, we do this. And don't come messing with what we've been doing on our side of our family, meaning their thing was the welfare system. And they told me when I married him, I said, now what you're going to do is you're going to have these babies and then you're going to get on this welfare and you're going to keep having babies and you're going to stay on this welfare. And you're going to go over here and get your housing. You're going to go over here and get your, and I was like, not having that. And they were like, oh, that's the bougie one over there because I went to private school and my husband went to Denby, public school. That's how we met at the dance. But I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm smart. I'm valedictorian in my class. What are you talking about?
And see, this goes into, you had a 2-parent household, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
And it sounds like he had a 1-parent household. And now you're combining these and you're getting mixed signals. Unfortunately, I know people in Detroit, 18 is the age where Black families,
18.
let's talk about culture, Black families
Yes.
throw their daughters, their sons and daughters out. That's a
Yes.
thing, you guys, as you're
Yes.
watching this.
They
Just
was like,
and I
okay,
know
your
that for a
time is
fact.
your
At
time is
18
coming
in
up.
Michigan, you got to get out.
Yes.
And you
They
need
was
to,
like, what you doing?
yeah,
What you doing? Which way you going? You getting married or you going to college? Which one you doing?
isn't that crazy? My
Yes,
best
but
friend, he shared that with me, and I've seen it from other people from Detroit, and I know that that's a culture. Do you know, Shawn, my mother never wanted me to leave home. Even a few weeks ago, she was like, well, you just left and never came back. And I'm like, well, that's what you do when you become an adult. And she goes, well, I guess so. And I'm thinking, no, shit. Like,
if I can keep my precious baby with me every chance I get, and she's 28, love you, Lexi. And I don't want her to go with. Anyway,
this is part of the culture that you're talking about. So if you're 18, in maybe not just Detroit, but Black homes, right? Can we have this conversation? What's the statistics of Blacks versus whites and Asians and all of that in this whole human sex trafficking game?
now this is where I get a little mad.
Okay.
Because I'm in a lot of places. I work with a lot of different organizations, such as the Wellspring, the Street Grace, the Out of Darkness, all these different huge entities, right? But a good portion of them are African American as far as the survivors or those who are rescued. I would probably even gather to say 60 to 70%. There is white. I've never seen Asian. I've seen other cultures,
Hispanic, Latino.
a lot. I've seen Hispanic, uh, but I've never seen Asian in all of my rescues at all. And that is interesting because we were trying to figure out why that is, but that's a whole nother conversation.
But that might be the culture that we're referring to. You got to get out. I can't keep taking care of you. You're not getting a job. You're not going to college. You just can't be in my house, right?
It could be. It could be. I would be interested to see, but
yeah.
There's a problem. And then it depends. It's like a seasonal thing. Like right now in the houses, it's a half and half. There's half white and half Black. And then there's certain times of the year where it's all Black. And then there might be one or two. I'm working with several different houses where there's houses that have 30 kids in them. There's houses that have 10 kids, 20 kids. I have some private homes that we speak of. And sometimes those homes are completely African American. But for me, what ticks me off the most is our culture does not support or even give to where a good primary of sex trafficking victims are had. And it pisses me off because you're in a room, there's 2,000 people at a dinner that costs $60 to get in for this little chicken. $60. We spend that on a weave, a hair, a wrap, some shoes. It takes $60 for a fundraising event. And guess how many people in 2,000 will be in there? One Black table.
Because we don't like to hit at the issues. And let me go here because Charles just had a point. Because once again, we don't deal with the issues. It's like the trouble that I was starting on my page the other day. We can't get to the issues because we're good. We just want to ignore it and act like the big pink and white, whatever the elephant is, whatever color it is not on the table. Charles said, wait a minute. You don't find underage girls at the Asian massage parlors. That's his question.
Oh, that's his question?
Yeah.
Listen, what I have discovered is if they are, they have some pretty good documentation. Our problem is we don't have good documentation. We can find out that their documentation is a little bootleg. So the Asians may have figured out how to get the good documentation, but we have had some stings and some busts where they are. But as far as them end up being rescues, no, they're labeled as labor trafficking.
Oh, see, different name. Because see, this is what we need to be clear. Human trafficking has many different categories, you guys. That's what I learned getting prepared for this. Sex human trafficking, or that's one category. And so you're saying that, wow, they get late. This is crazy. Okay.
Because they get defined as the people who are doing your nails.
Yeah.
The people who are doing your pedicure. The people who are, if you're paying a lot, if you're going into nail salons and they're telling you to pay cash in tips, most of the time, those entities are labor trafficking.
See, and that puts it in a different perspective, though, too. We're fighting for these nail shops to open up. I'm not, because I have an awesome mobile girl who is African American.
See these press-ons?
She went to FAMU, started her own company, and she's amazing. So I don't go to the shops like everybody else anymore. But I always had a problem with it because I'd be like, they got little stuff sitting at the front too, feeding it, and I was always off. I didn't like that. But even
there's a lot that goes on. There's actually a third that you guys are not aware of that's really big right now, and I'm about to mess you up, is organ trafficking.
Yep, organ trafficking is the other one. I saw a video one time where
it's big.
They move girls and they knock them over the head and they kill them.
It is big. They're taking those girls that we are not even worried about that are sex trafficked, and now they're taking their organs, because organ trafficking is huge right now. And they're also messing with the homeless and the transgender.
Is that why we have the 56,000 missing Black girls that no one's talking about?
Correct.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Woo, this is getting, okay. So once we get into, there's a million things we could ask tonight, because there's so much here. I can look at this and say strip clubs. I can look at this and say pornography. I can look at this and say escorting. I can look at this and see, little things of girls walking down the street. I can see all of that. But once they're in this, who are they trying to get in this? What's the trap? I know the sex, strip clubs is a trap. Pornography is a trap, right? So we're hearing about people being snatched at bus stops these days.
Okay, but the situation is the strip clubs are the small part of this. They're not even the major part of this. The major part is the Snapchat, the Instagram, the TikToking, all of the social media apps that girls are getting trapped into. Even Craigslist. Now, I was a part of taking down Backpage, and I'm torn about that, because I advocated for it. I stumped on not only the Georgia Capitol, but I was in DC getting laws fought for Backpage, and I was an integral part of helping to get it taken down. But even then, they've figured out how to go and get into dating sites, and now they've set up all these different dating pages and websites.
So let's talk about really quickly. What's Backpage? You guys.
Okay, so Backpage was very similar.
That is like
was very similar to.
Yeah.
Yes. Backpage was very similar to Craigslist.
Yeah.
But it was specifically for, you go on there and you find whatever you wanted. You whatever you named. They put the pictures up there. You knew it was underage girls, because it would say, tender, young, lean. They used all these names, kid, even for, just like a dang goat or something. But they used all of these terms for underage girls. And the owners knew that those people were putting those ads up there, showing off and taking pictures of young girls to traffic them. It was like well known, it was no secret about it. And so I was going on there going, what on earth? But it's still happening. I literally just found an ad on Craigslist.
Yes.
In Atlanta, y'all.
You sent it to me last week.
In Atlanta, y'all, where girls who are looking for a place to roommate, to stay, because COVID came and the college doors said, y'all got to go home. Not do y'all have a home to go to, but y'all got to go home. Leave campus in 3 days. Where were kids going to who didn't have a place to stay? You and your husband have moved over to Florida, right? Mm-hmm. And what if y'all had kids who were in college? Y'all got y'all one little bedroom thing. You can't take no kid. And you're sent home, go find your way. What did kids have to do? They had to make their own. They had to go find them a roommate situation somewhere. But instead, the pimp has figured out, let me tell them, hey, I got a webcam here. You can make money here and you can get free
Is he approaching, because this is the trap. I've got to get clear on the trap. How do girls get trapped into this beyond strip club, beyond porn, beyond, like, does the pimp just walk up to him and say, hey, I'm a pimp?
No. So what he does, and you'll get a bunch of these. You'll get people who will come on your Instagram, or they'll follow you on Instagram and they love on your pictures. Sometimes you'll see them go all the way down and they'll just like all of your pictures. Or they will constantly follow you and DM you. Oh, you would make a beautiful model. Oh, or they'll answer in your TikTok, or they'll answer in your Snapchat, or they'll send you little, you're just beautiful. And they plug them. They'll even pretend sometimes to be their boyfriend. They'll say, oh, babe, you're just beautiful. I love you. They'll start telling them they love. And if I'm at home and I'm not getting my family, I'm not getting Shawn and Chris to tell me I'm beautiful and I'm pretty, because they're working 3 jobs and they don't have time to tell you they love you every 5 minutes.
Right.
But it's somebody who's on the social media telling me how beautiful I am, how gorgeous I am. And then, by the way, let me buy you something. So they start out by buying them the latest iPhone, the latest bag, the latest shoes, and they just hand them to them. Oh, let's go shopping. I'm going to take care of you. And they start ploying them with things. And then next thing happens is, well, I'm your boyfriend and everything, but I'm having a hard time, coming up with rent. Do you mind if you can do this for me? Or this was one of the ones that just messed me completely up. A 16-year-old girl out in Conyers, working every day in school, going to school every day, and her boyfriend, who moved into the area because he saw her on Instagram. He moved into the area, went to her school. He's become her boo, her bae. And after 2 months, they're 16, so it's legal to have sex. And in that 16-year-old time, for 2 months, they start having sex. And then one day he showed up and said, baby, your thing is so good. Do you mind if I share you with my homeboy? He just want to try because I've been telling him about it. And I'm going to he's going to give us $20 for you to try it. And she sleeps with the boyfriend because she's so amazed that her boyfriend told her that how good she is.
How good it is.
And next thing you know, he's got 4 of his homeboys coming over every day
paying
to sleep with his girl, paying $20 after school now. And then I asked her, I did a presentation at Conyers at the Heritage High School, and she came in, she said, Miss Shawn, I think I'm being trafficked. And when she told me that story, I said, yes, boo, he's getting $80 a day for you. And so I asked her, how did she let that happen? You know what she said? Well, my mom and my dad are divorced, and my dad has several girlfriends, and my mom has several uncles that she calls who comes by, and they're girlfriends. So I didn't think, and this is her first boyfriend. He took her virginity. So she didn't know that there was anything wrong with sleeping with 4 other boys. She thought it was okay.
See, parents don't recognize the pattern that they set. You teach your children what relationships look like by what you actually do. It's that whole saying of, do what I say, not what I do. We know that doesn't work. So children are mimicking these things in their adult lives, and it's dysfunctional. And you're proving that. And then not only do they have their divorce, there's trauma there from the divorce. Right. And now they have multiple partners, and they're showing her that. Now she's not getting the attention she needs from either person. And here you have this young man telling her how pretty she is. You need to be a model. I done moved from wherever to be with you. And your stuff
now, 2 minutes later, 2 months later, we're having sex every day for 2 months. You didn't got good to you, because this is what it does. You done lost your mind. And now he tells you your thing is so good that he wants to share with your homeboys. See, and I'm telling them, no one who is telling our girls that no man who loves you is going to want to share for you. He's going to kill you if you share with anybody. But they're not telling our girls that it's not okay. It's not okay.
But we're not, but see, I'm going here. Because in our households, we don't know how to encourage one another. We don't use words of affirmation. I'm telling on myself. Even in my marriage, I'm learning how to affirm my husband the way he needs it, even more. And I had to tell him one day, I said, you know what? I need to figure this out a little bit. Like, I tell him he's cute. I tell him he's like, there's something more he needs that I didn't learn as a little Black girl growing up in my single parent household that I now need to figure out in order to give my husband what he needs. And imagine not being told you're pretty. I was told that growing up, not being, my mother made sure I modeled and did things even when I was looking, I wasn't looking right, Shawn. My mother was like, nope, you pretty. And you go, and even if right now, you still pretty.
And she signed us up for Barbizon. We know we didn't honey, I look like the ugly duckling, and they signed me up for Barbizon and told me I was the most beautiful thing in the world.
And I had that walk. So I learned that Naomi Campbell walk. So they would hire me to do fashion shows all the time. I've done print modeling. I've done it all from Barbizon. People don't know that, but that's a real thing in my journey.
And the thing is, there's places that know that Barbizon exists, and they will come up with an ad that looks very similar to Barbizon, put maybe an A on it. You think you go into Barbizon and you really go into the trap. You really came to this modeling position and you think you come in, just like this girl I just rescued. She thought she was going to model. She thought she was literally going to be a model. And when she got there, they were like, oh yeah, you're going to be a model. And they told her that for a whole month. They were taking pictures. They had her being sexy when they really were putting her pictures on the sex trafficking sites. Okay. And so when she went to one, the guy was like, well, when are you going to take your clothes off? So there's so many, and let's so just ways dispel the myth.
You're telling me there's multiple ways to get trapped in this.
And let's just dispel the myth of this white van. Have y'all noticed y'all haven't heard any more about the white van? Because I got out screaming, yes, there is a such thing as a white van, but it's probably 1% of people getting snatched up.
Well, let me tell you, Shawn,
getting trapped.
Let me tell you, Shawn, I've been doing this now for, what is this, my 4th or 5th one of the fatherless and sexual abuse. And on every one, this white van comes up that it doesn't exist. The therapist said it doesn't exist. I had to share with my my stepdaughter one time when she found out I was sexually abused. I was like, it's typically somebody you know. Just know that it's not a white van. So you're saying it on this one, it's on every single one. I'm just
saying it's a percentage of a white van that is happening, but it is not the 90% or the 95%. There is a very small percentage.
Like a 0.01%.
I'm hearing in Detroit it's pretty prominent because Detroit girls are smarter, they're saying, than the kids in the South, because the kids in the South are not fast. So we're kind of slow here as far as the games that go on. And they said, they were snatching them pretty much in the vans in Detroit and in California. They weren't going. But they weren't going.
So let me say this. Andre Castleberry, I didn't see you this morning. I know Andre, she said that wasn't thought out by higher education. Many are in shelters, which isn't safe there either. And that's the part. Like, people are in shelters.
There's so many different ways. There are folks who are, okay, this is another one that I'm so glad Andre said that. There are the shelters necessarily are places that are havens for sex trafficking because people are displaced. People are like, and there's going to be even more people displaced behind this who are going to lose their homes or whatnot. The moratorium for rent and mortgage is the only thing holding them from being homeless. But many will go to places like that where the shelters are folks who will probably sexually assault them. But here is where the big grooming piece is. You ready?
Okay.
These little side lodges, the little Holiday Inn, Stony Mountain Inn, Conley Inn, these little side places, the motels.
Yes.
Because a lot of people who have been displaced or can't get a rental are staying in these extended stays, in the stay bridges. And guess what's happening? The pimp is there. He's watching the family member the father is going out and he's working for his day. He's watching the mother who leaves in the morning and going. And these teenager girls and boys who come home, the pimp is there when they get home. And he's waiting for them to open up their little motel key. And guess what he's saying? I know your parents are living here, but I can show you if you can make a little money on the side to help your family. So the motels and these little extended stays are a haven for us right now. They're where most of our busts come from. They're where a lot of them come from, because they are watching you. They know your family is only there because they can't afford to be anywhere else.
So see, now you're saying this is where the lot comes from. So let's get into that part now.
Okay.
How many have you rescued?
Over 300. I stopped counting. I was at 315. I just stopped counting.
And what does a rescue look like, Shawn? Don't give us the details totally, because
Okay,
you
yeah,
can't. I want you to get, you know what I'm saying?
you're trying to get me and Sally back here.
Right, I'm not. I just want you
Okay.
to give a tidbit of what that could possibly look like.
Okay, so it can be several different things. One, I've partnered with a lot of different house moms and whatnot. And a house. Let me go back to saying what a house mom is. So a house mom is that lady you see in the bathroom when you go to the club, and she's got all your peppermints and
Yeah.
your
Gum.
lotion in the
Yeah.
bathroom and your gum, and she's asking for $1.
Yeah.
She's called a house mom. So in places like the strip clubs or the lounges or the hookah lounges, I've partnered with them, and they'll shoot me a text. Hey, you might want to check on Flame. You might want to check on Diamond Star. You might want to, because they can realize, because they're in the strip clubs and they're listening to the conversations of the girl who's in the bathroom telling the pimp, okay, I know I got to make 8,000 tonight, So they'll send a message to say, you might want to come and check on this particular girl, and just talk to them and see if they need some help getting out. And a lot of times I'll go and they'll say, yes, if you could assist me in getting out of here, or I'm not safe, or I got myself in something I didn't mean to get out of, then I'll make arrangements and we'll work around getting them out of there, going out the back door, etc., that kind of thing. And then we have to call the authorities to work them through the system. But first place is to the hospital, because a lot of times they've either succumbed to drug abuse,
Yeah.
alcoholism, pregnancy, full of STDs, because a lot of them are made not to be able to use condoms. So a lot of these men who are going out here and they're married and they're going to be with these girls, they're not wearing protection, and they're taking it back home to their wives and girlfriends. So that's a whole nother conversation altogether. Yeah. Because if I tell you the type of people I see who are actually going after our girls and who are actually taking their lunch break and going behind the building at Emily's Bakery, I saw it one day, and getting a little on and then going out the window. And you look, and he's down the street at one of the highest paying places on North Avenue. We won't call that company, but we all know what it is. And anyway, that, I almost said it. That's why I'm laughing at you. That is what is occurring on a daily basis. The other half is, if I'm not doing a rescue dealing with the strip club, then I'm also dealing with people who find out what I'm doing, and they may say, hey, my nephew has been missing for a week. The one that came in Florida was the 9-year-old boy. He was playing the games Fortnite. Yes, that South Florida is where I got the 9-year-old from, playing Fortnite games. And the predators showed up
through the internet,
because you're playing with strangers.
Yep.
And that stranger played with him for 4 months, groomed him, got him comfortable, and then he showed up at his elementary school and said, man, there's a master game. Your mama said I could come get you. Because the boy is like, well, my mama had to send him. How do you know what? But he's talking to him, and he said, oh, you go to lunch at 10:30. Oh, I do too. You 9, you don't know. And right. You show up, and this boy is now being made to literally be with men for 4 months. And I will never forget that. 9 years old.
And I know an hour is like not even close, but I need to now know, what's the healing process look like for these people? Because most of it goes back to, like we talked about, they were sexually abused and traumatized early, and it just led into this adult life. Now you're pulling them out of, you said sometimes 5 times a day they're having sex. What does healing look like for this, Shawn?
It is very difficult, and we do have a lot of organizations, including our own, the Shawn Foundation. We're the aftercare after they've gone through that counseling piece of it. Because the key is, if you do not have financial stability and you don't have great housing, what are you going to do? You're going to be back in the system. But what it looks like is a lot of them are in our get to go in our programs, such as a Wellspring Living, where they are helped for 18 months. A lot of them get to go to places like Gigi's house, who loves on them and helps them get through the process. A lot of times, drug is the main thing. They've got to go through detox.
Yeah.
They've got to get through alcoholism. They've got to get through the counseling to in their mind. And a lot of times, some girls don't make it because the suicide rate is crazy.
Okay.
Because after you've been traumatized.
Jennifer on here, like, she like call out the company. She like say the name. We ain't gonna say the name on here, Jennifer. I get it, but we're not gonna say the name. I'll let her inbox you the name later. I pretty much know because I've been in Atlanta a long time. Okay, so now suicide rates, because see, all of these things coincide with fatherlessness. This desire, this need for a father. That's how you're with these men who love on you. And even if your father was present, I saw Andre say this happens in two-parent homes. Yeah, but the father's disengaged. He's not telling his daughter or his sons that he loves them and he cares and he's doing those things. And you get people along who do that. Now, the 9-year-old, I think that's a different scenario. He was just playing a video game. He was
playing a video game, minding his own business.
I don't even see. That's a whole different conversation.
So, that's why I have to take. That's why I take these resties so I can go to sleep, because when you see so much of this, after so many, your mind is just like everybody. You're all you know. I'm constantly looking at. I'm always looking for it.
My husband makes fun of me, but we'll talk about that in a minute before we end this. What's the suicide rate for this once they're out, not in it? Because we've heard the stories where people are in this thing and they find them dead, right? They've been left for dead in a motel room.
Somebody just decided they wanted to appear.
Unlike Tokyo today, so yours is like, yeah, how you on? Yep, I get it. What's the suicide rate?
It really depends it really depends on how long they've been in the system. Okay. I've had girls who have been out there 7 years or 20 years been in the system. It really depends on what it looks like, or if they can see the promise coming over the rainbow. You know, it can literally be, sometimes we get a whole bunch of them. We'll get a folks that may have been with some particular predator, and they're so afraid of him and so afraid of what's going to happen if he gets prosecuted. It really depends on what they see is happening next. If it's a situation where they were able to get out and it was simple and they didn't grow together as a family, it's less likely. But if they're very afraid of who it is that they're going to have to either testify from, or if they get back to a situation where they realize their family is so judgmental because their family is like, you put yourself in this, you did this, you were on Instagram, we told you, or they know that there's no happy ending or they can move forward, those are the ones who say, no, thank you. I've probably had more than I want to count that haven't made it, because just the process of having to go through the counseling and face yourself. If they can't see that I can be someone's wife one day, or I ended up putting myself in this, they don't see hope, or we can't somehow get them to connect with God.
Yeah. Or they have this dysfunctional family background. How do you go back to that? Money seems to be, materialism is fueling this, and trauma's fueling this. And so how do you get them to go back to that traumatizing situation when this traumatizing situation is getting them the money?
And if they tell us that, if we dig deep and we find out that this partially came from home, we're not sending them back home. That's where we have the partnerships with the places like that have the homes. That's what the Shawn Foundation is doing now. It's making sure they have housing, and we're partnering with one of the biggest names that helps build homes for them after they go through our financial counseling as well. And we know that they can go through housing and they're not just going to be a number, and they can actually sustain themselves. Then they're going to be able to build their homes and things like that. But the key is if they can see that they can move on and that they'll be okay. And I think that's been a good thing about me sharing my, flame now situation,
Yep.
because the city couldn't figure out how I was able to get to so many of the strip club girls, because I was being able to tell them, I know where you are. I was able to speak their language without knowing. That's why I know, this is why I'm being so successful at the strip club industry,
Yep.
because I could identify with them. But if you can see, they can say, oh, you're doing all right. Oh, you were in this situation and you made it. You made it on the other side. Clearly, I'm
Not
not
only
18
women,
anymore.
you're married, you were married, you have, a daughter, like you had a successful life. People need to see success stories.
That's the key.
And the key of the success story is the healing of it all, right?
Yes. Because I had healed so much, I forgot about the doggone thing. I mean, literally was just like, okay, da, da, da. I would tell them, yeah, I understand. I was flaming, I would go on. But once I got to the ball of it, I was like, ooh, snap. Oh yeah. And the dude who gave me the $100, like, it took some minutes to relive it all, where I had put it out on this side of the cortex somewhere and was not thinking about it anymore.
I got you. I think that's what a lot of people do. Trauma does that. And then once you heal from it, you may not think about it in that way. And sometimes you suppress the trauma because it was so traumatizing. I don't have another word for it. I don't want to, I see all these comments on here. People are like, exactly. You got a lot of people chiming in on here. Nitty even says she was a Barbizon grad too, girl.
Hey, honey.
Barbizon was different.
Barbizon unites. But they use places like that to say, you can be a model. They hit them in the DM and tell them they're going to be a model. They're going to be a dancer. If they can't get them in those two ways, then they come up with this boyfriend scenario, because they know girls want to be loved. They know someone on the Instagram. The only reason you're tooted and booted and got your camera up with your chest halfway out is you're trying to get somebody to notice you, because everybody else is scrolling and getting to be known and being the next YouTube famous thing, and the next Kim Kardashian, the next Amber Rose, and the next Cardi B, and the next, like, let's just have that conversation that they've made it a good thing to be okay.
Oh, yeah, you can go from stripper to A-lister in
Nene.
That's true. Nene was a stripper too. That's how she met Greg. But she's told that.
So it's become it's okay. And my girls that are in the strip club, they know I love them. I have no harm. I'm trying to tell them, come on over here and be a wealthy diva. I can show you how to take some of that money and do something else. But they find it's easy, quick money, and they don't want to do anything else. At some point they become a part of the culture, and it's like, okay, this is what I do. And it helps them to be famous, because I will tell you this real quick. How did I stop being flame? And y'all are going to laugh. My husband was in the military at his duty station. I'm at home living with his family because I'm getting ready to get married. We're not married yet. And we had one of those huge dinners one day out at Ryan's buffet. His family's huge. There was about 20 of us. And it's Sunday. On Sunday, we always went to Ryan's. And guess who showed up at Ryan's? One of my customers. Hey, Flame, how you doing?
It wasn't a family member though, right? Okay, good. but
one
still,
of my regular customers who came to the family dinner. In the middle, the family dinner is going on, and he came and pointed to me and said, hey, Flame, how you doing? I knew that was you over here. And I was like, what are you talking about? Who is Flame? Completely played it off. And my family, the Jetts, just recently found out that I really was Flame. I carried that thing to the...
Oh, they didn't even put it together then. It's now been recent. Whoa. And wait. So even Andre, she says protection factors. We were talking about some of the stuff that you put in place for this. Okay, so Anissa says, I think she meant, we met a young lady in law school from London, ended up in North Carolina by way of New York. See, all the traveling they get to do too. That's another lure. That's another ploy to get you. You can go here, you can go there, and you can do this and do that. I'm going to you go because I don't want to keep you on all night because we could talk about this all night. Trust me.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry.
Tell them where to find you. Tell them what you got coming up next. Not any stakeouts. They're not trying to rescue.
I just want people to know that sex trafficking has not human trafficking has not ended during COVID. It's become even more prominent because there's more people out here looking for work. So the predator has stepped up his game because he's now been the greatest thing ever because you can't get unemployment. There's folks who are on unemployment. They're going down the list, strolling down the unemployment as people say they're still waiting for their unemployment check and reaching out to them on Twitter.
Okay.
And finding ways to entice them and say, you can just do this webcam. You don't have to take it. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. But once they get you, they have you do whatever they want to because they take pictures of you. They drug you. They take, promising pictures. And I'm going to take a picture of so-and-so and I'm going to send it to her husband. And I'm going to use FaceTime to tell you I'm going to shoot your parents. Like they use all different types of strategies. But you can find me, Shawn Smash-Jett. I'm the only one in the world. So it's a real name. I was a Smash and I married a Jet and I was crazy enough to keep the name. But the KrishawnFoundation.org is where you can find us. We would love to have you as a partner. We would love to have you guys to assist us with. Right now, our biggest thing has been because of COVID, I'm not picking them up in my car. So I've been Ubering them and getting them back to safe places. A lot of the houses are not accepting COVID folks. So we've been having to put them up in hotels, that kind of thing. And it's been good so far. We've had partners who've come along and said, okay, I would love to support a girl in an Uber. I would love to support a girl in just housing for a night. And then also on our ongoing efforts, we're constantly receiving those individuals who need us to go to the next level. Once they are out of the houses and needing to move forward, that's what the Krishawn Foundation is doing.
I like that. I like the fact that people can, they can pay for someone's Uber to get out of sex trafficking. That's easy. That's easy. A lot of money at all.
I've literally had someone who's on our rotation. She spends $25 a month to our foundation just to pay for an Uber. That's simple. How hard is that?
It's not. So you guys hear that. You guys hear that loud and clear. So where can they find you on social media?
The KrishawnFoundation.org or the Krishawn Foundation or Wealthy Divas. If you follow me on Wealthy Divas or Shawn Smash-Jett, I'm on all three of those.
And I tagged her when my original post on our Facebook page. I did tag Smash-Jett and Wealthy Divas on there and her name. Okay. If you guys follow her, because they're us. They're fatherless. They've gone through the sexual abuse we've been talking about now for the last 5 weeks. These young ladies it got taken to another step.
Yes.
It got taken to a different place. And so I am grateful, Shawn, that you came on tonight. I do want to end by telling people, healing is the key. A lot of these girls didn't get healed throughout their process and throughout their journey. And as we've been talking about the sexual abuse and sexual trauma, healing is the key so that you don't allow somebody to take advantage of you. Healing is the key so that you can be a better parent than your parents were to you, right? So that you can love on your children. And that's what we want to do. That's why I'm on here every Tuesday night. I want you guys to keep joining in. This is to connect the dots to our pain. That's why I do it. Sometimes, like Shawn said, we don't necessarily remember things and we don't look at things. And I'm here to connect you to the dots of your pain so that then we can get you with a therapist. We can get you with a coach like myself who can coach you to the place to your healing, your complete healing. And then we go from there. And then as the therapist said, and then you got to get some other people around you, like a good OBGYN, a good urologist for the men, and good friends who'll tell you the honest truth. That's what we're here to do. And so you guys follow us, continue to follow us concerning Healing Tuesdays. If you're looking for coaching, go to beyondfatherless.com. I have actually cut the prices in half for COVID, which is not something I would normally do because it takes a lot of money. But just go there and, think about it, consider it. I tell you, it's worth every bit of penny that you pay because I put it all into it. This is just 1 hour a week that I give you on here, and I give it to you guys for free for that reason.
And we thank you for that because everybody needs some counseling right now.
They do, and they need a place they can go and feel safe, and people feel safe here. Okay, wait. Andre is asking before we get off here. She says, "Where is your program located, and what mile radius does it cover concerning support?" Because Andre is in Gainesville.
Okay, it definitely covers all of Georgia because I'm a part of the Institute of Human Trafficking, and I will go anywhere in the state of Georgia. I will go all the way to Florida. I've had people call me everywhere, but it covers everywhere. We're planning on being in every spot we can be at. I have not turned it off. I had somebody call me from New York the other day. I'm gonna go there if I need to.
And what's the number? There's a number they can call you, but what's the 1-800 number of like human trafficking? Because my husband was like, give that number out, Shawn. So, and then I can put it on here.
Okay. Oh, that's a good one. I know it's, oh, that's bad. I should know that by heart.
Let's put your number first.
Okay, 404-491-9311. I had to think about that. 404-491-9311. And I know it's Lord Jesus. Hold on, give me a second, John. He got it because it's like 3737. It's really easy. It's something in the middle.
Hold on.
Usually I have it in my little thing. The human trafficking. That is so bad. That's so bad, Shawn. You got to get back in the groove of things.
It's 1-888. 373. 7888. Okay.
That's it. I knew it was something simple. So when you look at it, it's like 888 in the middle, 3737-888.
And if anyone's watching and you need rescue, Shawn, you can call her at 404-491-9311. And then the national number is 1-888-373-7888.
It's really easy.
I am grateful that you allowed me to have you on here.
No.
Next week, we're going to have a social worker out of Canada who's a professor. Nice. And she's going to talk to us about if our children come to us and they've been sexually abused, how do we get that? That's our biggest issue. A lot of us, as we've been talking about this, our parents didn't handle it well. And
they blamed us.
Yeah. Nydia, she said it on here. Her mom told her she imagined it.
Yes.
Who's not on tonight, her mother told her she's a liar. Like we've had all of that. And so with that, that's our biggest issue. So let's learn how to be better. And so next week, that's what we're going to learn. So I hope you guys tune in at 9 p.m. And I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome.
I love you.
Love you too. All right. Talk to you guys later. Have a great night.
Night.